back. I appreciate you coming back, by the way. You said, I want to go to a milepost in movie making, and that was Rocky with Stallone in 1976. Why was that a major movie event?
Well, it was kind of a 1-2 punch, so to speak, by 76 and 77, because up until the whole first half of the 70s was pretty much characterized by the fact that they were different from the older Hollywood films. They were grittier, they were tougher. Actually, nonconformity and even like nihilism, to some degree, was in.
Could you give me an example?
Well, actually, like in a weird way, one of the things that made Easy Rider so popular was that the fact that the two characters got killed at the end.
At the end of the picture.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, that actually was like that was actually a commercial thing for a while, all right, having the characters die for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That was just kind of reflected the mood and stuff, and of the time. But then, that was so prevalent for such a long while that when Rocky came out, and it ended like with a happy ending.
Yeah, the champion was the champion.
Exactly. Yeah, people walked out.
Moment of triumph at the end of the film.
What's funny is like Rocky would actually be considered like a middle ending now, because actually Rocky didn't win the fight in the end of the first one. All right, but he did what he wanted to do. He won it for himself. But people walked out. It had been a long time since they'd gone to a movie and walked out feeling great. All right, and people remembered how good it was. And Stallone even was saying, I want to do movies that have happy endings. America wants that. Well, America actually found out they did want that.
Right, and we've all read that in that period of time, you were going to like 200 movies a year. You became a great student of movies.
Yes.
So was Rocky a big event for you as a moviegoer at that time?
Oh, Rocky was, at the end of the day, probably Rocky was probably like my favorite movie at that time period when I was a kid. It just said so much to me. One, the movie, and two, just Stallone's whole story was very inspirational to me, because at that time I wanted to be an actor and everything like that. I hadn't thought about directing yet or anything, but I actually had no hope that I would be lucky enough to go out and audition for a movie and be chosen out of all the people, then I would be the guy. I always felt that I would have to do what Stallone did. I would have to write it myself. I would have to be the force behind it.
Right, as he had to do because he couldn't find the product commercially that he could make at somebody else's authorship that would be as successful as his own story was.
Exactly.
Rocky was Sly Stallone. It was Sylvester Stallone's story.
That was it. I always felt, I never felt I would be so lucky to be picked out of the group. I always felt that I would have to be the master of my own destiny to some degree. And so that movie, and he spoke so much to me. Actually, a lot of time has passed since Rocky and stuff, and people kind of make fun of Stallone a lot. Not so much now because he did such a good job in that movie Copland, but I've always thought he was a terrific actor. I think he forgot how good of an actor he could be, for the last few years.
And it could be said in fairness that maybe there were too many Rockies.
Yeah.
It could be said.
As far as I'm concerned, he could have stopped doing them after the second one. I loved the second one. To some degree, I actually like the second one even more than the first one.
Right, a lot of people did.
Third, four, five,
everybody talks about the 60s, but things happened in movies in the 70s as well. We talked about the Rocky sequels. Didn't sequels begin in the 70s?
Yeah, well, it's like, people had done sequels before, but it was like Godfather 2 that really kind of put forth the idea out there that you could actually do a sequel that could possibly be even as good as the first one, and even work as a companion piece.
And
there had never been a part 2 before. Now everything is 2.
As that sequel did The Godfather 2, it advanced the story.
Oh, yeah.
It took it in a new direction to a different destination. It wasn't just a replay, it wasn't just Ma and Pa Kettle all over again. It was something different in the Corleone family.
Oh, no, exactly. It was like, when most people now, they were so successful in that way that when most people now, they say, yeah, I remember this scene in The Godfather, and then you don't know if they're describing Godfather 1 or Godfather 2, they just kind of blend.
Seamless. What else happened in the 70s? Well, disaster pictures?
Well, the other punch of the 1-2 punch that changed everything was, one, there was the whole happy endings thing, which kind of brought an end to that nihilistic period, which is a very sad thing. For a little while there, you could kind of do whatever you want.
Although later Thelma and Louise would, in a way.
Well, that's almost even kind of a triumphant ending, even though they die. In the 70s, they were actually downers. People were trying to do downers. But then the next year, 1977, was the year that Star Wars came out. And when Star Wars came out, that was when all of a sudden people realized, damn, if we make these like this, where people, we're getting the kids, we're getting the teenagers, we're getting everybody. One, again, they're walking out of the theater feeling great, and you know what? They're coming back 8 times.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning, all right, of people going to see a movie like, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. That have brought like the grosses of movies way up.
Let me ask you about something that's happening right now. You know, I don't know a lot about movies, but I like to read about films and news about pictures. There's a flick out now called The Full Monty, which I've seen. This picture has grossed over $100 million worldwide.
Yeah, good for them.
It was made at a cost of $3.5 million. Is that a trend? Could that become a trend, or is that just a fluke?
Well, it's like, it's not, I don't know if it's necessarily, is it a trend that movies will be made for $3 million and gross 100? No, that is a fluke.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
That's a fluke.
Okay.
All right, and the thing is, if you're going to go and make an independent film and everything, you don't use the Full Monty or Sex, Lies, and Videotape or Pulp Fiction as your example. That's the phenomena. That's the film that catches the wave.
Right,
all right, you can't predict that.
Okay, okay. They got lucky then, huh?
Yeah, they got lucky.
They had a good story, they had talent, but they got lucky in the marketplace.
They got lucky in the marketplace.
But does it also demonstrate that if you've got something good, people will go to see it?
Oh, that's definitely the case.
If you give people their money's worth, they will give you their money, huh?
That's the case. But you know what, though? It's really funny, though. There's also other movies out there that, you know what, if they had been released at a different time, you know, with maybe a different campaign or literally a different time, the same thing could have happened to them. But for whatever reason, they didn't click at that moment. Maybe 9 months from now, or 9 months before, later, or sooner, would have, you know, that would have been the same case with them. It's, you know, it's just all timing. It's really. Now,
the picture you have coming up, it's in release in what, 2, 3 weeks?
No, Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. Is that a good day to release a movie? Is that good timing for a picture? Is it good timing for Jackie Brown?
It's a good timing for Jackie Brown. I mean, I think it's a really good timing for Jackie Brown. The reason it's a good time, one, Christmas Day is kind of is a big movie release day. There's like about 8 other movies opening that day.
That's right.
All right, and think about it. I mean, there's a whole lot of people in America. That's one of the things they do Christmas night.
Go to the pictures,
Go to the pictures. Okay, Thanksgiving, same thing. I've gone to the Thanksgiving movie with like my family quite often, actually. The thing that's great for Jackie Brown, as far as this, you got a lot of movies opening. You got like Titanic's going to be out there, and Steven Spielberg's Armistead, and you know, Mr. Magoo, and you got all Kevin Costner's thing. None of them are our competition. All right, Jackie Brown is a thing unto itself. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, they're not our competition. If you want to see my movie, you'll see my movie. All right, you know, no one's taking anything away from us. We're not trying to win the weekend. We want to be there. We want to watch everyone open, and we want to watch everyone close, and we're still there.
Right. You want legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Want legs. And when they see the name Quentin Tarantino above the title, you know that'll bring in a certain number of people.
Yeah.
That's a given when that picture comes out.
That's the idea.
Yeah, that would be the idea. We are chatting here with the director, Quentin Tarantino. His newest picture is called Jackie Brown. The toll-free is up and running now at 800-952-2788. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.